Let's see what happens. Welcome in. Bridging Civil Tension 21-6 the net. A lot of tension out there we need to bridge. Of course, we've got the man, the entrepreneur, best-selling author, coach, mentor, just a guy who wants to make a difference in life, Mr. Phil Wallace. Phil, all the way from Texas today.
Man. And I'm friends with Ken Jones, so that makes me cool.
You're a cool guy. Welcome to the club. You're cool.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
How was your trip down to Dallas?
It was good, man. I drove yesterday. 14 hours.
13? Is that what it is?
Like just shy of 14 yesterday. I left at like 10. I got here like 12:30. A little bit of traffic coming in from Oklahoma to Texas.
Always good.
Yeah, but
in the new car or no?
So I got the new car, and I was selling my old car to my like a little brother of mine.
Yeah.
So he's getting this one. So Wednesday he texted me. He was like, "Drive safe." I was like, "I'm not driving safe. I'm flying." And he's like, "Bro, I need the car." I was like, "Oh, I thought you were flying up." So I ended up just switching my ticket and driving down for him.
So you became the delivery service. Nice.
Man, yeah. But it was peaceful. It was country.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you get into that flat part of the Midwest, you're like, I think I can see the back of my own head.
There is nothing here. But it was some good time with the big guy upstairs, man, and just
good contemplation time. It's awesome.
Yeah, so I'll take it.
All right. So what's the tension this week, Phil?
There's been a lot of stuff going on. This past week, there's the shooting in the train station that happened. There's an update from our young lady from last week who was unwell after stabbing.
Let's start there. Let's start with her.
So she was caught out and about, living it up, and people who recognized her put her on social media and said, "No, you are not out having drinks and partying like you just did not kill an individual a week ago. I thought you were mentally unwell. I thought you were suicidal. I thought you were unstable. How could you be out enjoying yourself if you have all these mental situations, but you seem to be living life without a care?" And, the lady ran off and went a different direction and stuff like that. And it's just, you're able to cry wolf and then go party.
Yeah. A murderer.
And then at the same time, and some people may say that I'm probably stretching or whatever the case may be, and I'm just telling you how it looks equally. Remember when Kyle got out and he was at the bar throwing up signs?
Yeah.
Like nothing even happened, and he just out living it up underage at the bar. It's a message, man. That like again, I don't think that any of the individuals from the California shooting are out at a bar enjoying a martini.
Well, right.
I don't think anyone who's partaking in any of the violence that gets brought up about Chicago are out having drinks unbothered or unscathed, throwing up signs with other people.
Well, OJ's.
OJ didn't go out that night. OJ did write a book years later. I'm like, bro, just go sit down.
That's all we got. That's all we got. We always roll back to OJ. Yeah, but OJ, OJ was
like, and I feel like, but I do feel like, and who else said this? After OJ, it was like, we will never let you guys get another one. It was like that.
That was your pass. Yeah.
No, that happens once, blacks.
And it's not. And listen, that to me, it has nothing to do with race. But it has to do with money. It has to do with popularity. There's also Alec Baldwin.
Right.
Oh, the gun just shot itself. Listen, this guy murdered somebody. And he's out doing the same thing, living
Living
life,
it up.
getting paid to be interviewed on television shows. This isn't,
Can you imagine like you getting interviewed to tell us how you're feeling over shooting a person, being able to be out free about it?
right?
I know that you shot Marcus. How are you feeling? I want to pay you $100,000 just for 30 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
And you're getting salary money to talk about how you accidentally shot someone and you're out free.
Good evening, Gary. Welcome in. Gary has sent me a bunch of links, Phil, that I'm going to share with you. Some good things that we can dig into. He's really interesting about racial equality, inequality, things like that on the other side of the globe. So,
thank you, Gary. We appreciate it, man. Thank you for always tuning in with us.
Then we can get through them. Yeah. So yeah, that's to me, it's just interesting. It happens to be a white lady who murdered an African American in cold blood, stabbed several times. But that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
She pled insanity.
Yes.
And once she got out, she hit the bar.
Mm-hmm. It's okay, Susie. You go out and you drink your umbrella drinks and carry on your life as it is.
I have a cosmopolitan on me.
Because you're an influencer. Yeah, which is bad.
Nothing hides guilt like White Claws.
Truly, you just
truly. If you're truly feeling guilty, have it truly on us.
I think that's just a point of contention. With anybody who's committed a murder has said, hey, I mean, and she didn't back away from saying, we talked about it last week. This lady didn't back away from it. She's like, oh yeah, well, you know what? I'm a little mentally unstable. You killed somebody.
You killed someone. And then you went and had drinks.
Most parts of these here Americas, that's illegal. In most parts, not Miami though.
I mean, unless you're friends with the Georgia police chief, and then you can get away with it for 4 months. But that's different.
That's a whole different story.
That's it.
Yeah. So speaking of justice, that was a good segue. Of course, Ketanji Brown Jackson, right?
Right.
Has been appointed. I don't know, whatever they call it, right? She's now a Supreme Court justice.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's awesome. Definitely congratulations. I know that she worked hard for it. She has a background that was borderline immaculate. Very well-spoken individual. We'll see how it goes, right?
Are you excited because it's a black woman? Or would you be equally excited if it was just a woman?
I don't think I'd be equally excited, right? Obviously, I do want to see more representation in the Supreme Court. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are decided there that affects minorities as well. Mm-hmm. I do think I still would be excited for a woman to be in like you said, nominated or voted in. I would definitely still be excited for that, but probably, to be honest with you, not as much.
Okay, so the interesting thing is here, the two things that crossed my mind this week. I think a lot of people are excited because she is a black female, right? I'm not going to define female. I'm just going to say that she's a female.
Why won't you define it, Kent? I liked Kent until he couldn't define a woman.
Let me read a child's book to you. Never mind. But I know that there's a lot of people who don't know who she is, who don't know anything about her court cases, how she rules, things like that. And to your point, she knows the law,
right.
But there's a lot of people who are just happy because she's a black woman, and I heard something say the glass ceiling has been shattered. I had an issue with that saying. Do you take issue with that?
I don't necessarily know if the glass ceiling has been shattered, and I think that with the presidency we kind of saw it, right? It's cool that you're in office, but if they veto everything that you suggest, you don't really have the same power that someone else would.
Yeah.
So she's cool that she's in, but if certain things that she's going for, they overrule or however things go.
So let me ask a question. Would you feel the same way if it was Candace Owen who was appointed to the Supreme Court? Because you've
Um,
spoken out about that is the token.
in that particular instance, I would still be happy that one was in. I would be concerned that it was moved in to be a pawn, like a volunteer pawn.
But how do we know this one? How do we know that Katanji's not?
And I don't know it, so I can't speak on
Right.
the heart of Katanji. I wouldn't try to do so. I'm just saying, based off of the vernacular that I've heard out of the
Right.
individual's mouth, one individual seems more in line with one way, and one individual seems more in
Yeah.
line with justice.
So if people ask me, I think it's awesome. I think it's groundbreaking. It's history making. Um, but it felt the same way with Marshall Thurgood. This is I felt the same way with Barack Obama. Growing up, reading the 1970s and 80s uh, history books and things, nowhere in my life did I ever think we would see a black president. Nowhere did I ever think that a black female would be on the Supreme Court.
Right.
And I'm being as honest as I can, and I go, well, that's cool. That this shows growth. This shows that we're moving in the right direction. In the back of my mind, though, I go, when we talk about race issues, race is very, very selfish. Doesn't matter what race you are. It's a very, very selfish. Because how many Native American women Supreme Court justices do we have?
None.
None. How many Native American Supreme Court? Yeah. So we get excited because, hey, it's we
Right.
we got this African American. We're making progress. For who? For how long?
Well, I mean, and this is where we've said this a few times, where like I feel like just and I might be the only one, or whatever. I feel y'all should be happy that she's here because now you have a better chance of getting in too.
Yeah,
Because
somebody's
when it,
got to break.
right, because when it's all white, male over 50, whatever the case may be, then none of us are in the party, right? So at least if there was one, like, okay, well, like you just said, well, then we need an Indian, we need an Eskimo, we need from Pakistan, we need multiple people represented. So it's not just old white man party here.
Yeah.
How do we get a female Native? Like, let's find these candidates too.
Yeah.
Because then you're gonna have more of well-balanced decisions versus just.
Well, right. And then I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever. It's a court of law. Yes, but your experiences and the way that you see the law, that helps with your ruling, and that's the interesting thing. But I've heard a lot of people very excited about Ketanji Brown, and I'm like, well, what is it about her that you absolutely are excited about that she's on the Supreme Court? Oh, it's a black lady. This is ground. Okay. So you don't know how she has ruled on anything, or you didn't take a look at her background or anything like that.
Right.
What you heard was a bunch of idiots going, define this. Are you born, what?
Yeah.
What? To your point, and you said it very eloquently, is she's got a good record. She's got a lot of experience.
Right.
I mean, this whether she was a man, whether she was green, blue, white, pink, purple, she's good.
Yeah.
She's good at what she does. She's very, very good, and that's what you want for a Supreme Court.
Right. You want a well-spoken individual who seems balanced, at least appears
right.
So fair-minded in their decisions, can articulate themselves well, has a track record of being consistent with their rulings. You would want that.
Yeah.
I think the one thing though, like you said, oh, you don't know anything about their background. The only thing that I will say to that is, what do we know about the background of the other members?
Right.
Nothing. We don't know how qualified they are. We've just been cool with them in charge for this entire time with zero understanding of their
Well, yeah,
qualifications.
or what we've been allowed to know. We'll take Kavanaugh for example, right? Oh, he's a white guy. He was in a frat. He gets drunk all the time, and he treated girls bad.
Right.
Okay, that's every college kid.
Right. But
You know?
we won't see any outstanding record on an individual like that,
Yeah,
like hypothetically, but then we'll scrutinize the minority who's trying to get on,
right.
from Harvard.
So we'll take a look at this. And Gary says a great thing like because they're viewing her as a checklist on a diversity list instead of her experience and standing as a judge. That's what a lot of right.
Right.
Got one check, right? But if we take a look at this, the sitting president right now, hmm, this guy in the system for a long time, in the system that has created systemic racism for many, many years, longer than you've been alive, Phil.
Right.
Right? He's been part of this system. Let me have an African American running mate, woman. Let me put an African American woman on the Supreme Court. Uh, to me, to me, this is the gentleman who sits in the White House on the plantation
Right.
saying, "No, no, you can come live up here in these quarters, and I'll show people that I'm, we will wait till June to tell you that."
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So to me, I start questioning, and I want people to understand. I think it's fantastic again because it shows growth. Something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I start going, "God, we have spent a lot of
But
time."
like we've talked about though, consider the alternative. At least he lets me in the house.
Yeah,
The other side calls me the word and then tells me I better not step foot on the porch.
well,
Unless
right, but at the same time, you'll say about well, there's these that sit there and they preach this on the plantation. We got to choose those people. Well, I'm sitting here going, are they choosing these people? And
who?
you know, so we've been critical about Candace Owen and her stance, and said, yeah, there's always one on the plantation that's singing the praises, right?
Right.
And now you're saying, yeah, but she's in the house. Well, is it the same play? But now we're accepting of it because it's not an orange man putting them in the house.
Got it. I don't necessarily because I haven't seen her. I haven't seen her go on record contradicting how she got started. And I've said this: one
Right,
individual got started because
right,
she called on the NAACP for racism, and then now she's famous because there is no racism and Black people are playing the victim.
yep,
Versus a person who's been consistent on what they see the entire time. So, no, I'm not going to go with candidate A. Now, what I am afraid of, going to what you're saying, I don't want Ketanji Brown to be a Kamala. What we talked about
right,
is that she's some impressive, well-spoken individual, and then when she gets into position, you don't hear her voice again, or the voice that
yeah,
you hear is significantly downgraded, and they don't want to show
right,
Black intelligence.
right,
That's what I'm afraid of. It's
right.
cool that she's in, great, we broke that, but like, I'm not cheering and like we got because if
Right,
if she doesn't have a voice,
right,
I've
right,
seen this play. I've seen it with the president. I've seen it with the vice president. And now I'm seeing it here. So I can't celebrate as aggressively quite yet
right.
until I'm allowed to see her 6 to 8 to 9 months from now speaking at the same level, making changes, and her voice is heard.
Well, the Senate said that you have to at least interview at least one.
This is NFL.
Right? So you see where I'm going with this is, and truthfully, when everybody who doesn't wear the same moniker in front of a D or an R or whatever
Right.
is can say nope, more than qualified. I can't vote for her though. Wait,
or they walk out.
right? Or they just don't show up.
Can we just that?
Yeah. They're in
So
empty seats.
if it's an AAU team or if it's a sports team, let's say basketball, and typically it's more African Americans on the basketball court most of the time. I've heard it's these classless thugs that just walked off the floor. These tasteless thugs, what low class, blah, 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 blah. And it's just going. How kids didn't shake hands. Or then professionals, okay, cool. Well, these overpaid, Neanderthals, blah, 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 all this. But then when the Republican Party walks out, when a black lady is inducted in, not a single one was called a thug. They're not called tasteless. They're not called any of the same things that we see from kids or these overpaid people. And it's justified. They just didn't approve, and so they walked out without saying anything harmful. No, you still walked out in the same tasteless manner.
Very silent.
Classless manner.
I think Metallica said it right. Hear the silence so loud. And as somebody who quote unquote would vote to put somebody into that position to represent me, the empty chairs. What? Listen, you're going to vote no or you're going to vote yes. You can't show up and not vote and say, "Oh, I didn't. If I was there, I would have." No, you wouldn't have, because you'd have been there. This is a historical.
What else was more important?
Yeah, exactly. This is a historical, groundbreaking moment.
What else?
You've missed your kids. You've missed your kids' baseball game to have an affair with a page. but this isn't important. What?
And this is what I'm saying. Like, I cannot show up or I can walk out, but I'm not a racist.
Yeah. Hey, right. And
And okay, like let's say that you're not a racist, but you're still not even called classless by people because they're still justifying the fact that you walked out when she was voted in. Like what?
Correct. Listen, you wanted to represent people. You were elected, quote unquote, and it bothers me that you left. Why? What are you doing? What is your job at that point? Listen, you were either for her or you weren't. Be person enough to go, no, but I can't vote. So if I'm just not there when midterms come, I've got a good chance of winning because they can't say that I voted against her.
Let's say similar situation. It's 2024. Donald Trump gets reelected. And the black people, a part of the government, walk out.
What
do you think that comment section is going to look like?
Was it? Yeah. Well, it's crazy. And that's why I say it. It's just it's hard for me to just swallow just not being a good human being. But if you're an elected official, a lot of you just aren't good human beings. You're just worried about, how do I maintain my status in life? How do I maintain getting reelected?
Right.
It isn't about, let me make a difference. Let me make a change. Let me, this is listen, this goes down in history. The history books, right? I would love to be able to tell my grandkids, I was there, I used to be a senator.
Right.
And guess what? I voted for that.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? This went down in history. This is the first black. I voted against her. Well, why the heck did you vote against her? Well, A, B, and C. There's you're part of that history. This is groundbreaking. This is monumental for the United States. Shows growth. Shows, and yeah. Guess what? I voted for her. Why? Because I thought it would be neat to have a black woman on the Supreme Court. That's the only reason? Sure is. What?
Right? I can't say that's any worse than voting for an orange individual. So
right.
I've never seen an Oompa Loompa in the office. Yeah. So I wanted to see what it would do.
I didn't want a politician. We needed a businessman to get
I like chaos. So I just wanted to do it. Just roll the dice.
So to me, again, you know, just take a look at what's happening, but you know, listen very closely to what's being said without being said. And why is it a big deal for some and it's not a big deal for others? What story is being told? Well, it's not happening in my backyard, Phil, so I'm fine. Hmm. No, but you're being told a story.
Right.
So when it is in your backyard, you already have a preconceived notion. And so what story is being told? They when they went around the vote, yay, 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 nay, 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 empty seat. And you're like, what? Was this guy going to the bathroom? What? That's infuriating to me. But those are the games that we call American politics, right? That is
Right.
those are the games that we play. Um, and when when the only thing you have, you can't bring up any stains on her record, for the way that she has ruled or whatever, because she knows the law and she's decided a ton of cases.
Right.
And you're like, oh, they're all pretty good. Geez. Well, define this word. What?
Right.
What's that got to do? Just like, this is the best you got.
And you see it, but the thing, I just don't understand why people who are like, well, she couldn't define it. Like, you're not understanding. That has zero relevance to what she's about to do.
Right. Right.
Why? What is the point of that question? And then if she says it this way, what's going to happen? Oh, well, she'd be in trouble. Okay, well, if she said it that way, what would happen? Oh, she'd be in trouble.
Right.
So you see why she didn't answer the question, but you're mad that she didn't answer the question? Well, yeah, because she couldn't answer the question.
Right.
Please get off the phone with me.
So so absolutely nuts, right? Enough there. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it very I thought it very, very interesting to me. um just that there were people that didn't show up, and then that there were just people who were like, yeah, no, I really enjoy her because she's just a black female, and that's cool too, right? Because
Right.
I think it's groundbreaking, and it shows growth. But that's when I had that conversation, like, race is selfish. I want, why are we excited about this and we're not fighting hard for a Native American to be president, or you know that'll never happen because they'll take their land back. So
Right. But like, and I guess just from the minority standpoint, it's like, look, we need one in, and I don't care if it's Asian,
yeah,
I don't care if it's Indian, whatever. Like, let's get one in, and then now we're going to start to trickle more minorities or races in a situation where everyone here looks the same. We just
yeah,
need something different. Add some sort of seasoning to the salt, please.
yeah. Someone.
But what other people don't do is, like, they'll be like, oh, well, this, but like, we won't get as excited. Like, you're
Right,
not understanding. We got to get some sort of traction.
right.
But I think, though, the thing is, when you're saying you're not understanding why it's so excited, we know what the other product brings.
Yeah,
Corruption. And
yeah,
we understand that when you're looking at the questions that she was asked versus the questions that anyone else in those other 100 and, was it 14 seats? So 113 seats were asked. It doesn't look the same. None of them were asked to define a woman. The president wasn't asked to define a woman. If he was, he would have said, someone you can grab him by the, anyway.
yeah,
But he wasn't.
yeah,
So it's just, it's you want to see something different, and you want to see it done fairly. And
yeah,
unfortunately, it's still not the case.
yeah. So let's move to Brooklyn.
Man.
Brooklyn, terrible subway shooting in Brooklyn the other day. Planned out pretty bizarrely. Pretty effed up. Yeah. What was it, like 19?
Something like that. 19 people.
10 people were shot, 19 others taken to the hospital for injuries, right? From smoke annihilation and shrapnel wounds after
Right.
after our good friend, and we've got the name out there, right? What's
Is
his
it
name?
Franklin or something like that?
Yeah, Frank James.
The
Frank James, 62. He's 62 years old. And again, we've got great pictures of Mr. James. No vest on, Mr. James. He's cuffed after he went to McDonald's to get a cup of coffee, called police, FBI, whoever, come get him. Said I'm here,
right.
right? Um, could be a little crazy. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. Did he cry? And where is he today? Is he out having margaritas and dancing out at midnight?
He's not in the Miami nightlife.
Yeah. However, you're going to say, "Hey, Kent, cool your jets. This is an act of terror. He, you know, 10 people and gas, canisters and smoke bombs, and a death is a death is a death. A murder is a murder is a murder."
I feel like you have to be sicker and more emotionally unstable to plan out something like that than just to stab somebody. Now, both you're off and both something's missing, but like we were saying over here that maybe Brandon shouldn't have called Hunter's trip.
Yeah, no, they probably shouldn't have. But that's not news here in America either. Just so you know, that's being swept way under the rug here in America. Don't worry about that though. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Yeah. So this guy, 62 years old. I don't. Have you read anything or heard anything on why he did it?
I have not.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
have not.
I haven't either. He's a James is a New York City native. Um, and like we said, at least 10 people were shot, 19 taken to hospitals for smoke inhalation. He donned a gas mask before setting off 2 smoke canisters and firing 33 times with a Glock 17 9mm semi handgun. It was found in the subway car. He purchased the firearm in Ohio in 2011 and had no felony convictions, right? Um, yeah, so
So
he
just snapped one day.
just snapped, kind of went cuckoo
Right.
for whatever reason, and he did this, and it's now being played out as an act of terrorism. Okay, and right
Of
now that
course.
say that,
Of course.
yeah. Um, uh, Now let's go here quickly as I'm looking at some of the news very, very quickly. James is known, quote unquote, to police. He has 9 prior arrests in New York, dating from 1992 to 1998. Okay, let's paint this picture. He was arrested 4 times for possession of burglary tools, once for a criminal sex act, twice for theft of service, once on a New Jersey warrant, and once for criminal tampering. So,
What are burglary tools? Anything that
a
any
hammer and a rock,
right.
right? So, Susie is an influencer, and she says, "I'm having thoughts of." We didn't go into Susie's background almost 30 years ago to go, let's dig some shit up on this girl. You know what? She just had a bad day. She says she's a little unstable. We'll let you go, honey. Um, hey, listen, this bro, no, nothing. A model citizen from 1998 until present, nothing. Well, we're going to go back to 1992, 30 years ago, to dig up something on this guy, to say, he's a bad dude. He had burglary tools, Phil.
He's got a
Burglary tools.
history of criminal activity.
Right now, what was the other one? Once for a criminal sex act. Okay, brother went out and paid for prostitution. That's a criminal sex act. But we're not going to say got caught with a prostitute. We're going to make it sound like you know.
So when he acts like a governmental official, then
Right, but we'll word it to make it seem really, really bad. Twice for theft of service. That means what? You know what? Times were hard. I went and I filled up my gas tank and paid and left without paying. Who knows, right?
I took
Theft
a
of
cab and I
service.
didn't pay for the cab.
Right.
Hopped
Theft
out.
theft for service. What? Hey, I wasn't happy with the pedicure. I'm not paying for it. I'm putting on my shoes and going home. Screw you guys. There.
That's theft of service.
Theft of service, but we won't say what for. And once on a New Jersey warrant, and once for criminal tampering.
What's the New Jersey warrant for? You know
Maybe driving without his tags. Who knows?
right? You can get that for tags. You can have that for a suspended license. You can have that for parking tickets. Like what's the? But you're seeing it. So look, what you're saying is they'll go back for 30 years to paint the picture.
Yeah.
She had her best friends saying, no. She has a history of being violent and attacking him and him not doing anything. And this isn't just a one-off. This is who she is and has been this way for years. Like recent years, not in her youth, recent years. No, she's fine.
Yeah. James has 3 prior arrests in New Jersey, 1991 and 1992. He was arrested for trespass. Okay, so you went into a place when it was closed. Doesn't say anything. Just maybe wrong place, wrong side. And let's keep in mind, dude's a big dude. Dude is a big dude. At least 6'2", 300 pounds. Big dude. Right? So trespass. Okay, so you were in the wrong place, wrong time, perhaps. Who knows, right?
Do you know how many Crystal Lake kids have trespassed?
Oh, absolutely. A ton.
Like just for fun on a weekend?
Yeah.
Just trespass in places where they have no business being every weekend.
Right.
Trespassing?
Yep. Come on. Right. So we again, let's follow the story. What is being, take a look at what's being said, but here, what isn't.
Didn't we say this last week? Though, it was like, you'll see it. They'd be like, oh, he jaywalked 15 years ago. And then they said trespassing 30 a week later.
We went back 30 years.
Oh, we predicted this. It's like The Simpsons. This is awesome.
Yeah, it is. Now, is it? Hey, and again, they're not shedding light on those. They're making them sound bad. Perhaps they weren't.
Yeah.
Perhaps they weren't. Right. And perhaps because he's 6'2" African American is why he was arrested. We're not going to go into that though. Right.
Nah,
now, nowhere. Right. Nowhere. Let's just see. Let me go back here. And I'm not defending what he did, folks. Right. I want you to know that. I want you.
He deserves to go to jail.
All right. So here's what I want you to understand. And words have meaning. You have to understand that words have meaning. He was arrested 4 times. Nowhere in any of these news articles that I've read, Phil, do I hear he was convicted. Okay. You're under arrest. I put my hands in handcuffs. I'm taken down to the station. I am, quote unquote, arrested. I am still innocent until proven guilty. At nowhere in anything that I read did it say he was convicted. He has arrests. Okay. But guess what my brain goes to? That's it.
Thank you.
That's it. Listen, this guy's guilty. Well, look at how bad of a background it is. Right? Now, hey, she is an influencer. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was arrested but not found guilty really quickly, right?
Really quickly.
Man. Hey, Alec Baldwin shot somebody and killed them. Hey, It wasn't his fault. It was the stagehand's fault.
Someone did this week. They're still having the Will Smith Chris Rock conversation,
Mhm.
and then there was a post about miss me with that with the Oscars because there's been a history of this celebrity or this actor, and it was like was found with young women, or this one had this sexual assault thing, and they did what you just did. Well, these were all allegations,
Just
like
out.
multiple allegations with young women, or multiple allegations for sexual harassment. Like, so why is it only almost looked as like a
Right.
conviction when it's African Americans? But we'll just sweep this under the rug as
Right.
just
Well,
allegations.
I want everybody to understand. Okay. I want everyone to understand. I am not I am not supporting what this gentleman did. What he did was gross. It's unthinkable. And he needs to pay for his actions.
Right.
This is very calculated. This is not good. What we're trying to do on this show is we're trying to help people see how stories are created and how opinions can be um, manipulated, perhaps,
Right.
right? And how history ends up in history books. Okay, so uh, by what he did was wrong, and he needs to pay, and that's it. Period. And it's not right to all the people who are there who now have to deal with this post-traumatic stress disorder for the
Right.
rest of their lives.
Because you got to get on the subway tomorrow or today for work.
Folks, it's bad. I'm not saying it's not. What I'm saying is, what story are you being told? Okay.
Right.
Why do I have to dig 30 years ago to try to build a story for this guy? I don't care what he did 30 years ago.
Right.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set up a story or a narrative that says this African American, look, he's bad. He's a thug. He's had a bad life. Look at all these arrests 30 years ago. What? 30 years ago, we didn't have electric cars.
Right.
30 years ago,
Well,
we didn't have cell phones
but it's the same play every time.
every time, right? Not once in a while, every time.
Okay, so let me ask you this. And I'm really like, I'm not even being sarcastic.
Yeah.
How does a person say, "Hey guys, this is the play that's ran every time"? If you don't want to believe Phil's mouth because Phil's the victim and this, that, and the third, okay, whatever. But could you please just keep an eye out, just in case, just to see if you see this play ran every time an African American is arrested? How can we get to the point where people will be like, okay, I don't trust Phil. Cool. But I will just keep an eye out for these things so that a year from now, when I keep hearing this conversation, I'm no longer saying, oh, he's playing the victim. I can actually possibly get to the point of, well, shoot, it did happen 15 times this past year once I started paying attention.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can get to, or is it always Phil the victim, or like how do we bridge?
Right. How do we bridge? Right. How do we get there? I'm trying to look something up just to see if I can help here. All right. Um, a white man opened fire in a historic black church in Charleston, South Carolina, the night of June 17th, 2015, killing 9 people, including a pastor during a prayer meeting. The suspect, Dylan Roof, good old Dylan, was arrested in North Carolina and extradited to South Carolina for what authorities are calling a hate crime. Roof was charged with 9 counts of murder and 1 count possession of firearm during the commission of a violent crime, all felony charges. Dylan appears by, let me just see, in a still image. His bail was set at $1 million. Dylan Roof appears. Okay, no, I don't want to read that. So $1 million bond. I'm just trying to see if and I'm looking through old.
To see if Franklin's bond and what that is.
Right. No. Held without, I think.
Oh.
Let's just see. Again, about the same number of people, right?
Yeah, and one was a hate crime that they weren't really strong against hate crimes, and then one's a terrorist act. They're very passionate about terrorist acts.
Yeah.
Especially in New York.
Yeah. Motive remains unclear. Doesn't tell me. I'll have
That's
to do
almost a perfect scenario. Because
right.
okay, like if you think about states that are probably one of the most lenient states about hate crimes towards African Americans.
Yeah.
And I went to school there. South Carolina is probably in my top 5.
Yeah.
If you think about states that are probably passionate about terrorist acts, New York's number 1.
Yeah.
So when they're going to do the rulings, and one's declared a hate crime and one's declared a terrorist act, they're going to obviously vote stronger for the terrorist act and more sentencing for the same amount of people killed.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I can't. I can't find anything real quick on that. But again, and now the good thing is, good old Dylan. He got the the death sentence, right? Which he should. It's just horrible. But yeah, no bond, held without bond.
Is that the case for all? I think it is.
It
So I'm
probably
going
is.
on to. I think for all terrorist acts, I don't know if they give you
Yeah,
bond.
and that's right. So yeah, so it's anyway. Here's the deal. The deal is, what is the story? What's the story that's always being told? What does Gary say? 30 years ago, we didn't have two ones. That's right.
The world was a sad place.
That's right.
The world
Sad
was a
place.
sad place.
Sal, good morning. Aside from what story are you being told, what story are you looking to believe? As Kent just said, look at everything he did 30 years ago. Some people will look at that and say it was only a matter of time until it's not correct. But we leave out that he donated time to the homeless shelters or whatever. I don't know if he did. I'm just saying.
Right. Hypothetically, right.
We're going to gloss over that, but let's dig deep. Let's go as far back as we can with this guy, where Dylan was just not loved.
And the Miami chick was just unbothered, or she was bothered. She was stressed.
Bipolar. She's got some mental issues, not well. So go ahead, honey. You go. Don't worry. You go do what you do. One's a killer. One's a murderer. The other one's a murderer. So
again, I think to plot out a train like that, I think you'd have to be sicker. Something had to be more mentally off with you. But there's no, I'm feeling unwell.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong. It's just not something we do every day. Both were calculated. Both were planned. One happened to hit a very public place and hurt a lot of people. I don't know how many died. I know 10 were shot. I don't, whatever the case may be. A lot of people dealt with because he used smoke bombs, whatever. Now, one was, I'm just going to get the steak knife out and I'm just going to carve you up because you're sitting next to me.
Right.
Equally as calculated, equally as horrific, but she is an influencer, right? Gary says it's going to be difficult because the purpose of the media is to sell through sensationalizing. Yes. So any of that adds salt and spice. It's fair game. No, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. But what we're saying is that salt and spice gets added particularly to a. Well, let me rephrase it. The salt and spice that they're using here, let's say it's a little bit watered down when it comes to perhaps white people. And, pray for them because, oh, hey, let's move to Detroit. That school shooting this, in the past 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was.
Right.
And guess what? Well, look how screwed up his parents are. They ran and got them an attorney, not him. That boy is screwed up.
How do you do a school shooting? Out to leave, parents flee, they can't find you guys,
Right.
and they're cool with it.
Right.
Explain that.
And it's not that, oh my gosh, mom and dad 30 years ago were arrested for having burglary tools, a lockpick that you can get online, right? A paper clip and a
That's a bobby pin for some people,
right. Guess what? We didn't go back 30 years to see mom and dad's history, did we? This is
No.
this is a dysfunctional family, and goodness, no wonder this boy went and did that. Look how weird the parents are. We didn't dig 30 years back, is what I'm saying. So again, yes, the media has to narrate because it's big business and follow the money, right? We've got these sponsors, and we've got sponsors here at 2169. And if you want to be a sponsor, let us know. We'll love to work with you. But that salt and pepper, it's the same, herbs and spices that are put on
Every time.
every time, right? At some point, somebody's got to go, let's try a different approach here,
Right.
And then let's figure this out, right? It was a mass shooting. It was horrific what little Dylan did, but he may end up killing more people than our good friend Frank James. He's not our good friend. We're just saying Frank James, right? Hey, Kendall, how are you? Kendall rolls in. There were opinions that the arrest of Dylan Roof was especially calm, and they even asked if he was hungry. Went to Burger King. Yes, we know that. Purchased him a meal before his extradition. The outcomes can definitely appear different for others. Yes.
So
Yeah.
Kendall's down in the Carolinas.
Hey, Kendall.
Thanks for good people, man. Good morning, Kendall.
There are 11 herbs and spices in Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? And KFC, no. Right. And that's what we're saying. Now, keep in mind, Mr. James went to McDonald's as everybody was out looking for him, had a cup of coffee, a Big Mac. I don't know what he had. And then he called on himself, right? And said, here I am. Right.
Come get me.
It doesn't, I don't, the pictures that I see, they're walking out with him in handcuffs. He doesn't have the FBI jacket on. He doesn't have a flak jacket on. Anything like that, Phil. It's, he is, being escorted. Right. So, neighbor describes Frank James as angry, loud, and alone.
Who are you?
Yeah, maybe he has a right to be angry.
So let me ask you this. Why is it that the neighbor, whose name is anonymous, whatever, says he's angry, loud, and alone, and that's broadcasted, but the best friends of this individual who just stabbed her boyfriend, who keep talking about she has a violent history, they're muffling them?
Yeah.
Can we make sense of that?
Yeah. Hello.
Because it's not that I heard and I make assumptions based off of Kent plays rock and roll music at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
I'm with this woman every single day. She's one of our friends, but she's violent and she abuses him consistently. And he never even tries to defend himself.
And we'll let him walk.
But we won't promote those statements, just the neighbors. Okay.
Yeah. Let's roll out to oh my God. He was angry. He was alone.
Wait. So there was a angry black man?
Well,
with a history of arrests? Gotta get him off the streets.
Should we use different descriptive words? Because after the pandemic, a lot of people are angry, alone, and maybe music loud.
No, you gotta understand. There's certain trigger words.
Correct.
And once I'm assuming that he's an angry black man, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to be called a racist.
Correct.
And then when you read, he's an angry black. I knew it. And he was
arrested 6 times back in the 90s.
And he was arrested too.
Why did we put him away in the 90s? Could have avoided all of this. Because he
jaywalking. He had burglary tools.
Yeah. Hey, Seneca, how are you, sister? Why is mental health and dysfunctional family history used as justification for white crimes, but not addressed in crimes committed by people of color? Because people of color don't have those dysfunctional families or mental health. They're just thugs,
They're
drug
just
runners,
thugs.
angry. It's and and they can't afford the mental insurance to get the mental health help that they need to be, um, you know, diagnosed, right?
Right. So we just assume they're angry.
Yeah,
Their therapists are called dealers.
that's it.
So,
So that's a again, follow follow the story that you're being told to create the narrative that needs to be created. We always got to have a good guy and a bad guy. We in America have
always.
chosen who the villain is, right?
I just, but like, there's people who see it, right? Like, why is it always there's person's emotionally distraught if they're Caucasian versus just a thug if they're African American? And no one really takes the time. Well, some people take the time to be able to figure out, like, man, why don't I ever see like a troubled black youth versus just an angry black kid or an angry black man?
Yep. I, it, that's a good question, and that's one that we pose here on Bridging Civil Tension. It's the idea of how do you bridge? How do we make change? And these type of questions when we're asking ourselves that, Seneca, is just that. Now we're starting to see patterns. Now we're starting to see things happen. And if we roll back into Ketanji Brown, now there may be a question with her history of law, and the view from her lens that might have people go, we can't be so fast to rule.
Okay. I mean, the young lady that we know, Kent, who played basketball at Cary Grove.
Yeah.
When the situation happened at her school, she was followed. They weren't talking about the emotional stress or the mental health of a young teenager. They just thought she was angry.
Yeah.
Even though she was followed, jumped, and tried to tell the teachers that this person was harassing them.
Correct. Kendall says mental health in African American families may not be addressed as often. For example, black men are taught to be strong and to quote unquote man up. I think a lot of people in America are that way, whether they're African American or not, and that's unfortunately a bad thing. Is it more prevalent? Yeah, right. And can't be labeled. Don't want to be labeled. Don't want to be weak.
Can't be soft.
Yeah, and we talked about this, maybe a year and a half ago. Equity or equality,
right?
Two different things, but in America, we want to talk about equality. When it's not equality, it's really equity, and it's a whole. We've had that show. Hard to run in the Olympics when you can't. Right?
You got to be a small white girl, and then they'll let you do what you want to.
So, and again, ladies and gentlemen, everybody who's listening out there, we're not trying to pit one race against the other here.
No.
We talk about race issues because a lot of people are afraid to, or they have questions that they're afraid to bring up. I come to you from a 53-year-old white guy's perspective that grew up in the cornfields of Iowa. Okay. Phil comes to you from a 35-year-old African American perspective that grew up in the cornfields of Northern Illinois.
Right? Florida.
And down in Florida. He's been through things that I have never, and I can't. They always say if you can walk a mile in somebody's shoes, you'll then understand better. Well, I can't. I don't fit in those shoes.
These are 16s.
I mean, you can have white chocolate, but at the same time, it don't taste the same as dark chocolate, right? and so even though it's chocolate,
Right.
But the truth of the matter is nobody. We're not trying to make anybody a victim here. We're not trying to. What we're trying to do is bring about a topic that a lot of people don't understand, can't understand, and it's hard to fathom. As much as we want to understand it, we can't.
Right.
Because I haven't experienced the things that Phil has experienced, and I've been around longer. I haven't. He hasn't experienced the things that I have experienced, because he's black and I'm white,
Right.
and we have to understand that.
To be welcomed at the country club.
Welcome to the club, my friend.
One day I aspire.
Right. So thanks, Ted. Absolutely love you. Appreciate Ted legal legacy, home, and business.
Thank you, Ted. We appreciate you, brother.
Great. So listen, our time is up here. Listen, today is Good Friday, and there was a man that they put on a cross several years ago, and I'm going to be this guy. He wasn't white. Anyway, everyone, thanks for tuning in.
He had skin of bronze.
Thanks for tuning in. In fact, you're welcome over here anytime. And as Gary says in Singapore, in fact, you might have black privilege over there.
Hey, man, I would glad.
All right, road trip.
Right, we out. We're out. Singapore food's supposed to be good too.
Oh, it's delicious over there. All right. Listen, for all of us here at 21.6 the Net, thanks for getting caught in the net. Thanks for jumping on the bridge this morning and helping to build a bridge. Phil, have a blessed Easter. Give your family a hug. And
birthday's tomorrow.
Come back at 1 for the Neighborhood Pulse. Come back at 3 for In the Know with Steph and Joe. Can't thank y'all enough for getting caught in the net. Be good and be good to each other, everybody.
Love you guys.